Hello, this is Yummy Pajama Man, and today we're going to learn about using the random module. So we're going to use random. We're going to learn about how to use random to get random values and then use that random value for whatever you want for that value. So into here, we see that we have the import statements. So I had to import a module or a source code called random, as you can see right here. So I'm importing the source code or the module random. So you can think of it as whatever inside of the source code random is going to be put into this program. So I actually have another file open right here. I called this source code yt2.py. And then this one will be yt.py. So right here I'm saying import yt. So if I were to run this, it's going to, since I imported it, it's going to do everything inside of here. So if I ran this right here, run module, it'll give me all of the outputs, especially the string, because the string will stay the same, but the values will be different. It'll give me all the stuff inside of this module right here. So pretty much it's like me saying, okay, I'm going to copy all of this and then put it into my program. That's what the import statement is doing. So so that's import the source file, which is random here, and then after importing the source file named random or module, I'm going to use the functions that are contained inside of the random. So right here I've defined my own function named random num parentheses, and inside of here we're going to use the for clause. As you've seen it a lot before. So we're going to assign the first value 0 to count, and then down here we're going to say we're going to go into our function named rand int and then pass 1, 100. So essentially what it's saying is module, which is random. So from the module random, I'm going to access the function named randint that's inside of the module named random, and I'm going to pass to the arguments I'm going to pass to the function named randint 2 arguments, which is 1, 100. So this whole thing all together will return a value that is within the range of 1 through 100. So this might give me a value of 55, and let's say that it did, and then 55 will be assigned to number, and then this will print 55 right here. And then obviously this is going to iterate 5 times because it's in range 5. I'm not going to use the variable count. You don't have to use the variable count, but I just need it there so that I can iterate through the for loop 5 times, or the body will iterate or loop 5 times. So yeah, after doing that, it'll give me random numbers each and every time for 5 times, and then I go down here. Obviously this is commented out because I'll talk about this later. Down here is going to call what I was talking about. Up here it's going to call what I defined up here, because you have to define your function before you call it. So it's going to call it, and it's going to do everything like I said before. And then down here, or here, it's going to print a blank line and go to the new line. Down here is on the right side of the assignment operator. I'm accessing the module named random. So module dot the function that's inside of the module named rand range. I'm going to pass 3 arguments, 0, 10, and 1. So you can think of this as specifying 3 values in the range function up here. So in here, this is the start value, the end value, and this is the step value. So starting from 0, go to 9, but do not include 10 because this is the end value. It's going to step by 1. And down here it'll say print rand range value is, this whole thing will give us the random value that's in between the range of 0 through 9. So yeah, if I said like 2, for example, right here, this means that I will get a random value that's within the range of 0 through 9, but it'll be 0, 3, 5, 7, 9. Those are the only possible values I can use after this random function gives me a value. So the only possible values I can have is 0, 0, 2, because it's 0, 1, 0, 2, 4, 8, and that's it. So starting at 0, and then you increment by 2, so that means you're at 2, and then 4, 6, 8. So if I was at 1, start value 1, and I said, okay, step by 2, that means this says, okay, I'm going to choose one of the numbers that's within the range of 1 through 9, and it steps by 2, so that means the possible range that I have is 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Okay. And so yeah, so those are the possible ranges that I have, and it'll choose one of those numbers because it's random. And then down here it'll print out the random value. And then right here, this is pretty interesting. If we go into the module, obviously we're going to go into the module again. So inside of the module, we're going to access the function named random. And so what the function random does is it returns only a floating point value. So anything before the decimal point will be 0. Anything after the decimal point will just be a continuous line of numbers, random numbers. So it'll be like 0.57968357429 blah 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 blah. So it'll be something really long returned from this function here that's inside of the module named random. Okay, and then down here in the uniform function, so we're going to access the module again. So module dot, inside the module we have the uniform function. I'm going to call the function and pass 2 arguments into the uniform function, which is 1.0, 7.0. So the uniform function is just like the random function. It'll give us a floating point value, except that the numbers before the the number before the decimal point will obviously be whatever I specify. So my starting value will be 1.0. That means my random number will be in between the ranges of 1.0 through 7.0. So it could be 1.1857962 blah 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 blah, or it could be 5.7986421 blah 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 blah. So it has to be in between the 1.0 and 7.0. Whereas up here in the random function, you actually don't specify an argument at all. You just write out random parentheses. Don't specify an argument. It'll give you the floating point values. It'll give you all those numbers after the decimal point. So yeah. Back up here, the rand range, I said that it's like the range function when you specify the arguments. So pretty much you're specifying what the range is, and then this function right here will return a value within the range that you specified right here. Okay, if that makes sense. Up here in the randint function, you're actually going to return a random integer up here. So yeah. So here it's going to give us the range from 1 through 100, or I'm sorry, 1 through 99, I think. Which again is kind of confusing because it depends. Yeah, okay, so it's 1 through 100 right here. And yeah, so that's using random integers and then the random range where you can actually specify using the step value here, just like the range up here, and then down here you can use okay, so I just came back and I forgot where I was. So okay, so pretty much I told everything about the random module right here. So okay, pretty much all you need to know is just remember the function name randint, the function name randrange, and the function name random, and then finally the function name uniform. If you're curious to what it actually does, just go to here, backspace, and then put in parentheses. It'll give you this helpful hint right here. So it says, okay, I only need 2 arguments. Return random integer and range A through B inclusively, including both endpoints. So it gives you that helpful hint if you're ever wondering, because some of these are they're different. They're slightly different from each other, especially the randint and the randrange. Down here, if we back this out, it'll give a start, stop, and then our step will be 1 automatically. So yeah, another helpful hint if you forget what the randrange function is. Choose a random item from range, start, stop, and then step right here. And the int assignment operator, the class int, that's about objects, and we'll go into objects later on, so you don't have to worry about that. And you can also do one down here and right here. Just remember to back out, just put in the parentheses, the first parentheses, and it'll give you that helpful hint if you ever need that. Now, finally, the random seed right here. What this, I'm going into the module named random, and I'm calling the function inside of the module named random named seed and passing the value 8. So if we run this program, so run module, and it'll give us all of our output. So 97, 91, 40, 48. You have all these values. If I ran this again, it'll give me a different value. And the reason being why it gave me a different value the next time is because all these functions, when they return a value, they return a value based upon your time. So since time is always changing, you're going to get a different set of random values each time you run the program. So that's why it's giving me a set of different values each time I run the program, which is the essence of randomizing numbers. It is based upon your time by the 100th of a second. So if obviously I've waited like 2 or 3 seconds, the seed, which is the time, will change over time and over time. And so in essence, the time itself is what's giving us the value that is returned in my program. And as you can see, the value is different each time. If I want to use the same value each time I run the program, I want to have the same output from these functions, random, randrange, randint, and uniform. I want to use a module random and then the function named seed, and then you can pass your seed value. So I passed to mine 8. So if I run the module, it'll give me the same output each time I run the program. So 3048, this is 1, 0.08. If I run this again, it'll give me the same output because I'm using the same seed value. Because right now it's not dependent upon the time, which is changing. Now it's dependent upon my seed value. Okay, so that's why I get the same output over and over again. So if I run this again, it should give me the same output yet again. So yeah, same output because I'm not using time, I'm using the seed value. You can also change yours, you can change it to 56. If I remember correctly, you can do -1 or a negative value, I think. Again, I don't use this much, so yeah, so a negative value, it'll be different, so 1833, 1, 0.49, it's a different value. If I run that negative value again, you get the same output. Okay, So if you want your random numbers to be run again, do you want to have the same value run again, just use the seed function. If you want to be based upon time and you want it to truly be randomized, just don't use the seed function. Okay, and it'll give us random values. So yeah, and that's it. So that's pretty much the basics of using the module named random, and then the functions as you saw. So just remember the names: randint, randrange, random, and uniform. And all you need to do is, when you put in the parentheses, it'll give you that helpful hint, and it will describe how many arguments and what type of argument it requires, and you should be good to go. Also for the seed, it'll show the helpful hint. Okay, so that's it. So that's random right there. So yeah, all right, so I'll see you in the next tutorial.